CD of a few songs we thought you might enjoy. So that's a little gift from us to you, and hope you enjoy it. So first of all, I know you have a concert in a couple hours, so thank you for taking some time to talk with us.
Terrific.
If you have time to listen to it, you can. Maybe bring back
great. Yeah.
Some memories, I don't know. Okay, so with the release of your new album coming out, Romancing the 60s, in just a few days, you are going to be one of the artists who has recorded in 6 decades. So congratulations.
Saved by the show, my goodness.
It's a good thing we can edit. If you need to take it, go ahead.
Hello.
So we're on Jersey Boys Podcast, and it's a fan-based podcast. And a lot of the listeners are excited about your new album coming out. So can you tell us a little bit about your album and what prompted you to do it?
Well, it's a compilation of the whole album is filled with all #1 records in that period through the 60s, and most of the songs are songs that were favorites of mine while I was recording and doing the things that we were doing in the 60s. And had I had the opportunity at that time to record any of these songs, I certainly would have jumped all over it. So it was a lot of fun doing. It was very challenging because the songs were all done in such an incredible way to begin with. And the challenge was to take these songs and kind of add your own treatment to them so that you might say that you could make them yours to some degree.
Okay.
And I think that, we did that pretty successfully. I worked with my partner, Bob Gaudio, on it. He produced it. And Charlie Colello. And this is my son.
Oh, go ahead. That's fine.
Hello.
Okay, there you go.
As I was saying, I worked with my partner Bob Gaudio, who produced this, and the arrangers were Charlie Colello and Artie Schreck, who had been involved with many of, or in some case, most of the arrangements to all the things that we had done and all the hits we'd had over the years.
Oh, that's great. So there are some fans who have some questions for you from our podcast, and I said I would try and get them in on my interview.
Sure.
One of them is from Danielle, and she would like to know if you chose some of the songs for a specific reason, like if they played an important role when you were growing up, other than that were your favorites. Was there anyone that...
No, there was no other reason except that they were my favorites. I mean, we covered a lot of the artists that I had liked all through the years, and a lot of the songs. I mean, and going through the list of songs, there must have been 40 other songs that I wish that we could have done on this particular album. I mean, through a 10-year period of the 60s, there was an awful lot of really great music that was recorded and written.
Yep. All right, and Joe S. wants to know, a few years back, there was a rumor about you appearing with Bobby Tom and Charlie Colello during one of your performances and taping it for PBS. Would you ever consider a reunion with Tommy, Bob, and Joe Long, or a reunion album?
I never really thought about it, but, I would... I'd certainly be interested to listen to anything that anybody had to offer.
That sounds like fun. Okay, let's see.
Keeping one thing in mind. I mean, even if that were possible to do, it would take a lot of work to do it because some of the people we're talking about have not been doing this for 25 or 30 years. So it would take an awful lot of rehearsal, and it would be quite expensive to put it together.
Yeah. Do you think there's an interest of the other guys, Tommy, or?
I really don't know. I know that CBS FM one time tried to get us to do it, and And Bob and I went to Tom and Nick at the time. And there were so many problems with it that it wasn't worth doing.
Yeah. Okay. And Andy Leonard would like to know if you would be open to the idea of doing a Christmas album with your favorite Christmas carols in it.
A Christmas album. We already have it.
I know. Maybe some favorites, updated, new ones.
We do have. We have 6 things that Robbie and I have put together. And we don't work at it every day, but every now and again. And one day we'll put this thing together and it'll come out.
All right. I'll probably be happy to hear that. Okay, so on this album, I've heard that one of the songs is backed by the Jersey Boys Broadway cast. And what song is that? And how did that all come about?
You'll never believe which song it is.
I won't even guess.
It's a song called On Broadway.
Oh, well, that makes sense. All right, and how did you decide to have them do it? How did that...
Well, I just thought that I always liked the song, and I'm a big Drifter fan. And with Jersey Boys being on Broadway, I said it'd really be a kick for us to record on Broadway. I mean, it just really be the right thing.
Yeah.
So Bob said, yeah, that's great. He says, well, maybe we'll see if we do it. The Jersey Boys will come in and work with us. And we did it, and it worked out really well.
Oh, that's great. I think that's a great combination, kind of matching up the two entities. Okay, so now with you with Jersey Boys headed to London, do you think that you would be touring London anytime soon?
Never can tell.
All right, we'll leave that open, huh?
They'll have to make me an offer I can't refuse.
And they just might do that. That would be great. And speaking of London, what do you think of the Poloski-Beggin UK re-edit making it to #1 on the dance charts?
Which one?
That Poloski, thank you. I knew I was pronouncing it wrong. I need to know. Poloski, the begging, they did it. They did begging, they re-edited it, and it's like #1 on the dance charts.
I know it is. I know.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. I think they did a great job for, what they did.
Yep.
I like our record better.
Good.
But,
Me too. And Frank Ravello says this: over the years, I've heard it said that when Sherry was added to the recording session, the group had already rehearsed and was ready to record 3 or 4 other tracks. And Nick Massey in Jersey Boys even says, I say we do the 4 we already rehearsed. Do you remember what the other tracks were? Were they recorded? And also, I'm going to add that Mr. Ravello asked the same question to Bob Gaudio. And he said he thought Conyo was one of them, but that you should ask Frankie because Frankie remembers everything.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
All I do know is that Sherry really stood out to the side. And Conyo may have been one of the songs. I'm not really sure.
Such a long time ago.
Yeah.
All right. Now, in Jersey Boys, we never really learned how you and Bob Crew first met. We just know that you met. And when did you first meet him, and what was the first song by Bob Crew that you recorded? Do you remember?
I recorded 2 songs, which became a record. I Go Ape was one side, and the other side was a song called First Kiss. And Bob Crew and Frank Slay were the guys that recorded me doing it. And that was my first introduction to Bob Crew. Then later on, I met him on the road. He was also recording as an artist. And I met him on the road. He was promoting records, and then we ran into each other a few times. And
so the way we
finally did bump into each other again to consolidate something that turned into something very fruitful was we had made some demo records, and we were shopping them around through various record companies. And we were going into this particular office, and Bob was coming out. And we said hi, and he said, "What are you doing here?" And we told him, and he gave us a card. He said, "Listen," he said, "let me know what happens here, and if nothing happens, let's get together at least to talk." We did, and we signed a deal with Bob, and then we worked as his background group, instrumentally and vocally for maybe 3 or 4 years before he actually did record us.
Great. Okay, so that's my understanding. You really like jazz music, and I know that it was one of your early influences, and I think I remember hearing in one of your interviews you said you wanted to be a jazz singer, but that wasn't in the cards. And can you tell me a little bit about the influences of legendary jazz artists like Rose Murphy and Little Jimmy Scott?
Well, those are the people I was listening to. They were my early influences, and a lot of it came, I guess. My son is calling.
Hey, how are you?
Because I was introduced to the last stages of big band. So, and then I was going over to New York most every Sunday in the afternoon to go to Birdland, and I'd sit in the bleachers for $1, and I saw all the great jazz musicians and jazz singers, and I don't know what it was. There was something about it that I was really attracted to.
And so do you still listen to jazz music? Are you still interested?
I do occasionally, you know. I like it. You know, I like groups like the Manhattan Transfer who are in a jazz place, and you know, they're just there's not as much as there was when I was growing up. But we were here last week, and James Moody came in.
Really?
And we were doing a private show, and we talked for a while. And the funny thing is that, you know, I grew up in New Jersey, in Newark, and lived in the projects, and James Moody's mother lived right across the street. And he used to come to his mother's, and I had gone to see him, you know, in concert maybe 10 or 15 times. And I would always talk to him, and he remembered it, and we just...
That's a great connection. What a good story. Okay, last song? I mean, last song. Last song.
I know what you meant.
Last question. All right, in Jersey Boys, My Mother's Eyes plays a big role because of its connection with Gyp DeCarlo. And you recorded it 3 times, I think. Is it one of your favorite songs, or is
Twice.
it... Twice, okay, twice. And is it one of your favorite songs, or it just happened?
Well, it's a real song, you know, and who better to sing about than your mother?
I know, isn't
You know, I think every nationality has a mother's song. The Italians have Mamma. You know, My Mother's Eyes was introduced by Georgie Jessel, and it was also his theme song.
Well, great. Thank you again for letting us interview you. I appreciate it, and have a great time tonight.
Thanks.
A great concert. Can we get a quick picture, or?
Sure.
Okay, great.